Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we'll do something that has been requested quite a while back. We'll be doing a talk about destroyer tactics. And I haven't been talking about destroyers for quite as much as about cruisers, because as you know, light cruisers are my favorite ships. But for starters, let's take a look at the American Tier 5 destroyer, the Nicholas. Well, wait, before we do that, actually, huge thank you to Wargaming for featuring my channel in their latest update. That was unexpected and amazing and totally made my day. So thanks for that. Let's move on. The Nicholas, the American Tier 5 destroyer. Let's take a quick look and see what she can do. So she's got very little in terms of hit points, very little in terms of armor, obviously. She's got relatively good speed and very good maneuverability. The guns are quite good on this ship. So you get 5 of them. They've got a 6-second reload, and they do a decent amount of damage for these 127mm guns. An 18 degrees turret traverse is nothing to be ashamed of either on Tier 5, so you can move the guns around quite a bit. The torpedoes, well, they don't do a huge amount of damage. 6-kilometer range is decent, but you get 12 of them. Uncommon for a destroyer, they're actually not center mounted, so you get 6 in each side, which means you got to turn the ship around to fire on the other side. And you don't get a smoke screen yet, so you got to be a little bit careful that you're not giving broadside to people while being shot at. 6-kilometer range, keep that in mind, because if we look at the surface detection, we're down to 5.7 kilometers. In terms of setup, I've got the main battery modification, the propulsion, and I've got the steering modification, because reasons here is that I really need agility with this ship, and without one of the steering mods it just didn't do it for me. And the propulsion mod is there to make sure that you can slam the brakes on if you need to, and it's a very important thing for dodging and just changing your speed and making it harder to hit you. So that said, actually, let's put a camo on. Now, you might have noticed that I usually don't play with camo unless I have premium ships that already have camo on them, just because, you know, it feels like a waste of resources most of the time. If you're playing a battleship, you'll be seen anyway. There's not that great of a reason. I don't want to spend gold on temporary camos, and the historical camos that are permanent tend to be on the really expensive side. If you're playing a destroyer, however, having the Seaborne Assault camo, which costs about 12,000 silver for 6 hours, is a really, really good thing, because it gives you another 3% surface detection range reduction. And that can make the difference between you spotting the enemy first and the enemy spotting you first. And given that you're a destroyer, one of your duties, if there's no carrier around, is scouting. I actually like using these camos on my tech tree ships when I'm grinding, because I don't want to waste the gold on a historical camo for a ship that's that I'm going to grind through anyway. Plus the Tier 5 ones don't get historical camos, so that's pretty much that. Next on, let's have a look at my captain skills. So you see I haven't really gotten very far in the American tech tree quite yet, but I've one of the important skills for destroyers, especially destroyers with speed boosts, is the preheating skill, because it gives you an additional speed and acceleration in the beginning of the battle. So it means you get towards the cap quicker, and you can get into a position quicker. So that's a really, really good skill to have for destroyers. All right, now let's take the Nicholas for a spin, and let's see how we play. So the first battle we have is on Sand and Sea, and let's take a quick look, have a pause, and take a quick look at the opposition we have. So we are top tier. Sand and Sea is one of the lower tier maps that you usually find around Tier 4 and 5, 3 maybe 3 as well. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 battleships on the enemy team. Okay, there's some higher ranking players in this. So as well, we have an Okhotnik. We've got to watch out with that thing, because it has lots of guns and torpedoes, and we've got an enemy Nicholas as well. On our team, we've got an additional Mutsuki, and otherwise we've got 4 battleships on our side. So let's move on. Sand and sea. Okay, let's pause quickly and take a look at this map. Right, so there's a big rock in the middle, and that can be one spot. That used to be one spot where you could really well sit and ambush. But they've recently changed these maps that you spawn much closer to each other. So especially the lower tier maps, you can expect to run into opposition almost instantly. So given that I'm on the left flank, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head towards the island right in front of me, and well, the enemies are going to come either on my left side or on my right side, and either way I might be able to ambush somebody. And from there on we'll just take it as it goes. There are no carriers in play, but given that the enemy is mostly just battleships, everything's going to be spotted anyway. We just got to watch out for the Okhotnik and the enemy Nicholas, because we have no cruisers in our team. So first things first, full speed on, and say hello to everyone. I'll switch I'll leave the guns at high explosive, because the 127mm high explosive is relatively good. And I put the torpedoes on a thin spread, because I'm not expecting, I'm expecting to be shooting at, well, people who are surprised. So let's see. We immediately spot all the enemy battleships. That's to be expected. And there comes the Okhotnik. So he's on the other side of the island. He obviously had the same idea that I did. So let's stop here and see if we can surprise him. He hasn't spotted us yet. So I get 2 spreads of torpedoes out very tight next to each other and overlapping. Now we're spotted. So the Okhotnik has a bit of a brown alert moment. Turns out, and eats 4 of my torpedoes. So I figure, well, he's probably launched some of his torpedoes as well. And there they are. But that's not all of the Okhotnik's torpedoes. But I figure, well, okay, from here I'm just going to finish him with my guns, because he knows that I'm here. So there's no chance I'm really going to torpedo him again. He repairs, and I have to give it to him. He plays it really well, being chased by Nicholas. I'm trying to stay out of his torpedo range, because he only has a 4.5 kilometer range as far as I remember, or even less on the Okhotnik. And there's no chance he's going to hit me with, or there's little chance he's going to hit me with torpedoes. So I'm just trying to finish him off with the guns. But he's very good at playing with his speed, slowing down, speeding up again, making it hard to hit, not giving me any angles. Let's pause for a second and take a look at the map and see what happened so far. So the Okhotnik tried to flank on the left side, and maybe try to get around, get a sneaky cap, or just go into torp some battleships. Now we've obviously thwarted that approach just by defending that island and defending the left side. And all the battleships are seeming to be heading towards these 2 islands there on the other side of the map and kind of getting caged in there, which, okay, seems to be an interesting approach. I mean, sticking together is not a bad thing, but we'll see how that works out for them. They have lost 1 battleship so far. We've lost 1 destroyer. So, oh, the Okhotnik sets me on fire, but I get some good hits on him. So the enemy team has completely abandoned their cap. I could just cap them out from here, but the Okhotnik was the only one on this flank who was actually doing anything, and that should do it. Yes, there we go. Okay, so I'll not actually be capping, because that's boring. Given that there's 1 more destroyer left, the enemy Nicholas, that we haven't spotted yet. He might have tried to sneak around the left side of the map, and it's good that one of our battleships hangs back, so he can at least spot and maybe defend our cap against him. But at this point, I'm deciding, nope, screw this. I'm going through the cap just to announce to everybody that I'm here, and maybe trigger them to turn around and give the wrong side. But they're down another battleship. They really got crossfired down there in that little space between the 2 islands. So at this point I decide, no, I'm not going to cap. I don't know where the enemy Nicholas is. There's the enemy Nicholas, and he's AFK. Now that's unfortunate for the enemy team, really, because they could have very well used his help. given that they lost that I've basically completely countered the Okhotnik on the other side, they were playing without destroyers. So I don't know how much impact the other destroyers did on our team, given that I think the Mutsuki is capping at this point. So I'm just launching some torpedoes at the Nicholas. No, I think that was somebody else's torpedoes. Anyway, they can take care of the Nicholas. What I want to have is that König there. So we've won this game at this point. So I can just YOLO this. So I'm doing something I don't usually do. I turn around and give broadside to the enemy ship just so I can get the other spread away. Because the König is done anyway, and there's another König. Now I need to turn so I can get the torpedoes on the other side away. But they're all shooting armor piercing. And while battleship armor piercing can do a lot of damage against you, as you can see, mostly just overpens. He was beaching, so I pulled the torpedoes a little bit, but somebody else gets the kill. And that's the first battle. So yeah, we pretty decisively won that. And as a destroyer in these kind of battles, it's your duty to scout ships if necessary, and to make sure that things are secure and that nothing slips through. So that was fun. That was a good one. We didn't do a huge amounts of damage because most of the time we've been playing with the Okhotnik, but we countered him, and that was not a bad thing. So let's move on to the next battle. So here's our second battle. And again, we're in the Nicholas, and we're playing on Silent Shoal. So let's pause and have a quick look at the enemy team. We've got a Fuso, we're bottom tier, we've got a Fuso, a Congo, and a Mille Bertin, which is a really dangerous destroyer, light cruiser. So we got to watch out with that guy, especially that's a League 9 player, so they obviously know what they're doing. We've got 2 bot players in the Mutsuki, so they're relatively harmless because bot players are really having a tendency not to use their torpedoes. And we've got an enemy Nicholas, so also dangerous little destroyer, and we've got another Mutsuki, which is a real player. On our side, we've got a Königsberg as a counter, which is a really, really good ship to have. I love the Königsberg. The mid-tier German light cruisers are amazing. We've got a Fuotaka, which is a heavy cruiser, and 2 battleships on our side. So playing Silent Shoal, again, no carriers, so spotting is probably going to be part of what we're going to be doing. And again, the same rules apply here, like what I said in my battleship video on this map. You've got certain lines that you got to cover and make sure nothing gets through. Although as a destroyer, you're obviously not playing defensively. What you're doing is, you're going forward, trying to get some early spots in, and especially make sure you know where the other destroyers are if there are no carriers around. And make sure that, given that there are 4 destroyers on the enemy team, okay, 2 of them are bots. We got to watch out that we're not going to get capped. So I'm heading towards the center island first, because these are kind of the vectors that enemy ships can come in, and see if we can spot anything quite yet, if anything comes around that big island over there. But it looks like there's nothing really quite here, so they might come in between these 2 islands. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh, maybe we can do a bit of ambushing and let them come. But then our Fuotaka is basically pushing hard into the gap here in the middle, giving broadside to everybody. So I decided, okay, screw that. We can't let him run alone here. So I'm going full speed forward, and of course I run into the Mille Bertin, the one ship I did not want to run into. So I'm thinking, okay, let's pause here for a second. I'm thinking, hey, I have a very small but existing window of getting torpedoes off, maybe without being spotted. Maybe I can stealth torp him. It's not easy in the Nicholas, but at that moment I actually get spotted, and it's within my and I'm not yet within range of the Mille Bertin, so it has to be one of the other destroyers. And it turns out it's the enemy Nicholas. Now, great. Mille Bertin is reversing, probably expecting torpedoes, so I don't know how far he's reversing. I'm just sending 2 speculative spreads in his way and open fire up on the enemy Nicholas. Set him on fire, lucky shot there, he pops his damage control. Now, obviously I don't want to rush out behind the island. There's a Mutsuki poking out, just set some shots his way to make sure that he knows that he's been spotted. I think the Emile Bertin managed to avoid my spreads. I've been detected, so the enemy Nicholas knows that I'm here. So I'm shooting torpedoes relatively close to the island gap, just to make sure he doesn't come around here and torp me, and he knows that. So he's pulling a hard turn, he's going to beach onto the island and dodge my torpedoes and probably launch torpedoes himself. So I'm moving away, again making sure that the Mutsuki doesn't get through. That's probably a Bertin torpedo. He sets me on fire, comes out here. And he seems to be interested in the dogfight. I'm not really that interested, to be honest, at this point. I kind of have to defend the battleships, but I have an Emile Bertin around here to deal with. And this thing can make very, very short work of me. And the other, our Furataka ahead doesn't look so healthy. So I'm just kind of chasing the enemy Nicholas away and trying to get the Emile Bertin to prevent him from turning around. Of course, he sets me on fire again. So I really got to deal with this thing. If he manages to turn around and get all his turrets firing at me with his rapid-firing 150mm guns, I'm dead. I've got a bot destroyer next to me. I got a lucky torpedo hit on the Bertin. He screws up a little bit with his dodging. So at this point, I decide this guy needs to die because I cannot afford to hang around here. He will kill me. The enemy Nicholas has made his way through to the battleships. Sorry, I would have loved to deal with him, but I couldn't leave that Bertin back here because he could have made just really short work of me. So I'm rushing the Bertin. Now let's pause here for a second and let's see what's going on. Usually what you'd expect in a light cruiser is destroyers to run away from you because, well, you're in a light cruiser. You've got rapid-firing 150mm guns, very dangerous. What you want to do is you want to keep the distance, which is ideal when destroyers are running away from you, because then you can just keep the distance open. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually chasing him, actually rushing him head on. He didn't seem to be expecting that, and he turns and tries to get a torpedo launch at me. Well, I've got him right where I want him. If he's going to turn left to get his torpedoes out to kill me with torpedoes at short range. But I know that he's going to do that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm literally just going to slam the brakes on, send my torpedoes out a slight bit ahead because he speeds up out of the turn. There come his torpedoes. They're going to spread right in front of me, and I do take a lot of damage from his guns. And there comes a cross drop from the Mutsuki on the other side, so I'm going to dodge these as well. There we go. Okay, all torpedoes dodged. It seems like the enemy Nicholas is dead, so somebody back there was paying attention and defending our cap. Well done, people. Yep, well done, everybody. So, we've dealt with the Emile Bertin without getting killed. One of our destroyers is in the enemy cap. They have no destroyers left. All they have left is 2 battleships. So, we're almost 200 points ahead. Plus, we're capping. But there's also a battleship in the enemy cap. If that battleship kills the destroyer and the other battleship, which it just did, because it was a bot destroyer, the other battleship kills that cruiser, and then it's 3 against 2, and they might still have a chance. So this isn't. We've still got 1:30 left, and I haven't looked at how much health any of these people have. So I'm not quite seeing this as one yet. I mean, they will have to pull off quite a stunt to win this one, but I'm still rushing towards the battleship to make sure I do as much damage as possible. Because I'm seeing that cruiser there pretty much dead. That's guarding our cap. The battleship isn't going to cap. That's not the problem. But I'm talking about the points. So the Fuso can't see me yet. Two torps out. I'm trying to slow down sufficiently not to get spotted, but the gap's just too small. So Fuso's seen me. Okay, full on forward. At this point, just rush him. And look at that. He's not paying attention. So he's just shot at another battleship. I can do a full turn. Give him broadside, because he doesn't realize that I'm next to him. And now he gets 2 sets of torpedoes, and there comes the other. Now he realizes, fires his secondaries, but I'm slamming again hard on the brakes. There goes the second. It's not enough to sink the Fuso. So I want to make sure he doesn't get me. Slam the brakes on, and his next salvo would have sunk me. But he goes all over in front of my nose because he didn't expect that I would slow down. So I've got 10 seconds left, which is not going to be enough to sink the Fuso. I'm just keeping the island between me and him and getting some more shots off, more like to annoy him really, and to do a little bit of extra damage, because I'm not really going to do anything at this point. And the battle is over. So that was the Nicholas. Destroyer play in American destroyers is aggressive, is brawling, is close range. You gotta make use of your guns as much as you can, because you don't really have the stealth to defend yourself, to hide yourself from enemy shots. And look at that, the Königsberg, like I said, amazing light cruiser, did a great job in this game. So yeah, like I said, American destroyers, brawlers, close range, knife fighters, and in general, in destroyers, you just have to make sure you're using the speed and you're using your positioning to go where you need it. So let's switch it up a bit, shall we? This is the Kagero, the Tier 8 Japanese destroyer. The Japanese destroyers are very different from the American destroyers in that they have better concealment, much better torpedo range. On high tiers, the American destroyers get good torpedo range as well. But the Japanese torpedo boats are stealth ships. You usually try to play them differently. They're not brawlers. They don't have the same fire rate. They don't have the same turret traverse as the American destroyers do. That said, let's look at the guns. We've got 6 guns. We've got 6-second reload, and we've got a 10-degree turret traverse. So that's not terrible. If you spot it anyway, you might as well use the guns, and you can use them to some great effect. The torpedo tubes in the Kagero are 610mm torpedoes. We've got 2-quad launchers, about a minute reload, but they do a lot of damage. The problem is you actually have to hit with them, and hitting things from a range is difficult because of the new captain skills, and which make torpedo detection easier, or if you play against bots, which basically have magic superpowers when it comes to torpedo dodging. So, but you do have a 9.6 kilometer range, which doesn't really mean all that much. But the surface detection with 5.4 kilometer is really good, and we haven't even applied the Camo yet. For my setup, I've got the torpedo reload booster, because yeah, these really are torpedo ships, they're not gun ships. I've got the propulsion mod, and I've actually gone with the concealment modification, because concealment for me is everything with these things. So the captain, this is a bit of a higher level captain because I'm already at tier 8. Again, the preheating is really, really useful. Daredevil I find is quite good if you're low on health. Other than that, it's pretty much just on repair kits, health, damage control, and adrenaline rush is not bad either, because you get a faster torpedo reload. Again, I'm not using the historical camo because I'm grinding, but the 12,000 silver camo for 6 hours is a good choice. So let's do this. So the first battle we're going to be playing in the Kagero. Turns out we have mostly bots to play against. Let's pause here and take a look at the enemy lineup. We've got a Z-23 on the enemy team, and we've got a Yugomo on the enemy team, so we're bottom tier. 2 very, very dangerous destroyers. And we have an Izumo, which is a very good battleship. So the whole setup, unfortunately we do have carriers. Fortunately they're bot carriers, so they're not really the greatest players out there. Other than that, we've got an Amagi, a Northcal, another Amagi, and another Yugomo. So no cruisers, which is good news. Still, even bot battleships can be very, very dangerous. And we're playing on Fort Line, so let's see what we can do. It's all going to come down to cap control and making sure that these other 2 destroyers are staying away from my Izumo. Usually with a Japanese destroyer, I would play more stealthy. I would play kind of think of it like a ninja assassin sort of thing. But let's take a quick look at the map. So we've got a cap right in front of us. So that's the natural cap we're going for. It's got good concealment. There's a little edge in front of that island that we can use. And there's this gap between the two islands that we can use to quickly switch over to B cap. Of course, the enemy team can do the exact same thing, and you can be sure that since their 2 destroyers are human players, they're probably going to spawn on A and C. So we're going to have to face either the Z or the Yugumo. And let's see. The Yugumo has the same guns that I do. She does get better torpedoes, but she should have about the same guns that I have. So let's see what we can do. I'm definitely going to try to rush A, but we're not just going to rush into the cap. We're just going to get into the cap in front of that little edge at the island, see if we can cap. And you can use the cap as a detection mechanism. Because if you're capping, if you're the only one in the cap and you're capping, no one else is in the cap. If you're the only one and you're not capping, someone else is in the cap. If you're the only one and the enemy is capping, there's more than one of them in the cap. So this gives you a lot of information. You see that little ledge there? That's a perfect spot to sneak into the cap without actually getting spotted, because you're in concealment on the island unless you get proximity spotted. So let's put the brakes on, get in here. And we start capping A, so we're currently alone in A. And we stopped capping A. So yes, one of the enemy destroyers has come in A. So I poke my nose out and see if, and yes, there's the enemy Yugumo. He hasn't spotted me, but he doesn't seem to be interested to go around this way. I'm backing up a little bit just to see if he can, because he obviously realized he's not alone in here either. So he decides, screw it, I'm going for B. And there's the bot Yugumo. Well, the bot Yugumo is, which is why the enemy has this cap, because there were 2 ships in. The bot Yugumo is relatively harmless. So I'm backing up to see if the enemy Yugumo is trying to make a turn, go around the island and outflank our battleship here. But it looks like, no, he turned south and is heading the other way. So, okay, forward I go. Let's deal with the bot Yugumo quickly. And there's our Izumo, seems to be a little stuck on the island. And get torpedoes out. I'm expecting him to turn, that's why I only fire 1 spread, just to make sure if I have a second one if necessary. But he actually took one of the torps, so all good, he's done. We still got 1 spread of torpedoes left. Could use that against the enemy Amagi, who seems to be already pretty low on health. He's burning in 3 places. Yep, you're welcome, although you were not really in any danger. Bot destroyers don't fire torpedoes, or very rarely fire torpedoes. Okay, Amagi is dead. We control A cap and B cap, and I've got the Izumo with me. So my task at this point is escort duty, because that's the enemy Yugumo down there. And we have 4 battleships on the team and another bot destroyer. So he can make really short work of our Izumo and take care of the caps. And we've still got the Z in the C cap, who seems to be quite busy with some other battleship over there. We lost one of our destroyers, that was expected, and we're going to lose that battleship ahead as well. So while we're ahead on points right now, I don't expect us to stay ahead on points. And I have to make really sure that that Yugumo there stays away. Fortunately, he seems to be using his guns. So he's not... and there, we lost another ship. Okay, let's pause here for a second and look at the tactical situation. So we're currently holding 2 of the caps. The battleship right ahead of me is basically dead. It's a bot player. The Yugumo is just going to sink him. The Z is through on C cap and is probably going to go for the carrier and then going for B cap. The Yugumo, once he's done with the battleship, is free to also go for B cap or to just turn around and stealth toward me and the stealth toward the Izumo. Once our carrier is dead, we get no more airplane spotting, and we might lose C cap very quickly, and we lose 1 or 2 more ship, and that's basically game. So at this point, given that the only 2 human player and the most dangerous human players are still alive, my play here is I have to play basically a destroyer hunter, which I'm really not on the right ship for. If I was in a Soviet or a German or an American destroyer, that would be much easier. But I'm going to have to hunt that Yugumo down. Well, nothing for it. Let's go. There's the Iowa. She's already low on health. It's just a matter of time until she's dead. I don't know. Yeah, the Yugumo killed him, probably with a torpedo spread. So that's good to know. So at least he's one spread down. There are some more torpedoes. That's probably the rest of Yugumo's spread. He might have a second one. Of course, Yugumo now goes into stealth. I'm spotted because, well, I'm in plane range and I'm low on battery. That happens. So I start firing up the Essex, and there's the Yugumo. He opens up fire with his guns. So I'm dropping a speculative spread towards the Essex. I'm not expecting him to... I'm not expecting that to hit. And I'm dropping another spread forward. Now let me stop here again, and let's talk about why I'm doing this. So you see where the Yugumo is heading. He's under 50% health, so he's taken some damage on that brawl with the battleships where he got into close range, and he is heading. Well, I would kind of expect him to rush me. And because he should have one torpedo spread left, because I think he only used one to sink the Iowa. But he might also be careful, because there's our Izumo is right behind me, and he might think, okay, I've only got one torpedo spread, I can't take on both of them, so I need to disengage, I need to run, and the Z is hunting down our carrier, but I think maybe he's going to try and disengage towards the bot battleship on his side to get some firepower and support. So I'm sending a speculative spread his way, just in case he decides to go that direction. And at the same time, he's firing at me, and I've got my forward turrets firing at him. Need a bit more lead. I'm actually slowing down because I'm expecting a second spread of torpedoes coming from his direction, and since he's firing his guns, he's not going to go out of detection. And I'm getting under aircraft attack, but got lucky there. He actually takes one of my torps. At this point, he decided he's flooding, but he's damage controlling. So I keep the gunfire up on him. Not seeing the second spread of torpedoes from him. Maybe he hasn't fired. He goes undetected. Oh, there he goes again. I'm close enough that I can see him. So I'm heading straight for him. I need to keep... There come the two spreads. I need to keep him spotted, and I keep him away from our battleship. He's firing his rear guns. I can just drive by this Amagi here, and our Izumo can take care of that North Cull and the carrier. We've got to watch out that these battleships don't blap me. And at the same time, keep the pressure onto the Yugumo. Okay, there goes the Amagi. I don't need the torpedoes against the Yugumo, I've got guns. So I'm getting all 6 turrets to fire, and he's only getting the 4 rear turrets to fire, because he's trying very hard to disengage. He can't turn around, because then he's giving me a broadside. So I'm just keeping the angle and switching directions quickly. I can't really play with speed here. The Yugumo shouldn't have torpedoes ready quite yet, because he just fired 2 spreads. But let's be careful anyway. And I've almost got him. There, he turns broadside. He's probably got torpedoes ready. One of his spreads is ready. I just missed him. He's speeding up again. I'm slowing down, so his shot's missing me completely, and I've got him. Now, I know that he fired torpedoes, because that's the only reason he would have done this. So yeah, there come his wide spreads. So I'm turning in, pointing nose towards the torpedoes to make sure that I'm not getting killed. But at this point, we've been holding the 2 caps, and the Z hasn't managed to kill the carrier. B cap was still under our control, so we win this game. And yeah, this was a bit unusual for a Japanese destroyer, but it just goes to show that even if you're in a pickle and you have to play a ship against its usual strength, you can still do it. And you can do relatively well. And the Izumo had, while I was chasing the enemy Yugumo, had all the time in the world to deal with the carrier and to basically mop up things behind me, because I was able to keep that destroyer off his back and just chase him away. So that's how that's one of the roles you can play as a destroyer. You can make sure that your battleships are safe, which is usually cruiser game, but if you're in a destroyer, you can do it as well. And don't be afraid to use your guns when you're in a Japanese destroyer. Okay, one last game I've got for you today. And this one's a bit of an unusual one, because we're in a tier 7 game. We're top tier, and we actually ended up in Golden Channel. You see, this was just after the league reset, because everybody's has no league points. What do we got? We've got carriers. We've got Golden Channel. Not crap. We're in a Japanese destroyer. It means carriers can spot us inside the Golden Channel, which is the cap circle. And we have a Bismarck, an Alabama, a Colorado, and a Gneisenau in the enemy team, and 2 dangerous Tier 7 destroyers, the Mayhem and the Leberecht Maas. So I'm in a Japanese destroyer. What am I going to do now? Going for the cap sounds relatively suicidal. The carriers are bot players, so they're not going to launch their planes until somebody else spots something. This is very important to keep in mind. Human players will launch their planes early on, so going into the cap, you will be spotted. Bot carriers are not going to do that because they wait for somebody else to spot something before they launch planes usually. So it's just the Mayhem and the Leberecht Maas, and we've got a Minsk on our side. The Minsk is a very good brawling destroyer. The Torpedoes are crap, very short range, but she's got excellent guns. So well, let's see what we're going to do. And we've got an Algerie, which is a relatively good heavy cruiser. So we should have some firepower into the cap circle from our side as well. Plus we've got a Tirpitz and another Bismarck on our side. Let's go for it. Golden Channel. Not my favorite map when I'm in a Japanese destroyer. It's because the caps are really hard to keep. Okay. We're going to go for the cap anyway because the carriers are bots. And like I said, bot carriers don't usually go and scout. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the speed boost and see that we can get through the cap and then disengage to the side. We don't want to stay around in the cap because we're really in the wrong type of ship for that. I mean, there are no cruisers given, but I don't want to tussle with these 2 destroyers if I don't have to. Let's leave that to the Minsk and maybe with support from our heavy cruiser. Let's just get in there quickly. We're fast. I mean, the Minsk should be faster than us actually. But I'm turning left. I'm just sending a spread of torpedoes out in the general direction of the cap. I'm not expecting to hit anything. The idea here is to discourage enemy destroyers from rushing. They are in the cap because we're not capping anymore, so both of them in the cap. There's the Leberecht Maas. I can outspot him easily. He's hiding wisely behind the island, and I don't know where the other one is, but oh, there's the Mayhem. Okay, so they're both kind of behind that, and now I've delayed them a bit, but now I want to disengage and to go to the side. Now let's stop quickly and take a look at the map situation. So we've got both enemy destroyers rushing the cap. They're doing the right thing. This is what they're supposed to be doing. We've got our cruiser kind of playing with a battleship on the other side, which is a bit surprising. I would have expected him to play... Well, maybe he's trying to flank. It's not a bad move. And our Minsk is busy in the cap circle. The enemy is going to cap this one, obviously, and there's not much we can do about it, and that's okay, because what we have at the lower right island on the enemy side of the cap circle is a whole bunch of battleships. Now, look, if you look at that little dotted line, that's my spotting range. So as long as I stay out, as I keep everybody outside that circle, I will not be spotted, and of course not fire my guns. So I'm kind of taking position here, just outside the cap circle. They don't know I'm here. I'm waiting for my torpedoes to reload, and just keeping an eye on what the battleships are doing. So they seem to be kind of reversing, stopping, maybe going forward. They're going forward again. There's a Bismarck, a Colorado, and a Gneisenau. So I'm inching a little bit closer still, turning around so I can get back towards the cap because the destroyers seem to be reversing out of the cap. And I'm just going to fire 2 torpedoes, 2 spreads. Oh, I'm spotted. Who spotted me? Yeah, I must have just gotten a little bit too close to the Colorado. So the Colorado's in full turn. Just as I fire my torpedoes, obviously. So now I'm spotted, might as well use my guns. I'm hoping that my torpedoes are still going to hit something in that blob. Now the Colorado and the Bismarck have noticed, oh, there's a destroyer. Panic mode, full on engines, turn around. The Gneisenau might have not noticed that. Yeah, there you go. And takes 4 of my torpedoes with a flood. and it looks like a permaflood as well. So that's a good first outcome. And now we're in brawl. So at this point, there's the Minsk. I'm just firing at whatever is available. Ideally at enemy destroyers. There's the Leberecht Mars. This guy needs to die. So again, if you're spotted, don't be afraid to use your guns. The Minsk got a spread away against him, and I don't think he's going to dodge that. Yes, well done. So he's got that one down. And that means the cap is ours. The two battleships there have gone completely out of position, got scared of my torpedoes, and are now trying to... the Colorado seems to be trying to chase down our Bismarck, which is relatively low on health, whereas the enemy Bismarck is kind of trying to get back into position. No, actually, he's crossfiring. He's doing a crossfire on the broadsiding ships inside the cap circle. Okay, pause again. We've got a destroyer on our right. We're not spotted at this point. But we probably will be spotted in a second when the enemy destroyer gets close enough. We've got a Bismarck returning into position, cover behind the island, and we've got a Colorado on the left side. The Colorado appears to be cross-firing into our cap circle. The other battleship is completely driven off to the side, and we are defending our flanks, but it looks like a hard battle between the battleships. Our Bismarck is relatively low on health. The carriers are useless pretty much at this point. More on nuisance. So what I decide to do is get a drop on the Colorado. Near I'm spotted because of the Mayhem who's in my range. Now the Colorado can't turn out because there's an island in the way. So he could only turn in. And at this stage, I think I'm close enough that he doesn't have a chance to do that anymore if he doesn't turn right now. He's trying to turn out, but you can't. There's an island in the way. So there we go. That should hit. And I'm actually setting him on fire still. And there's the Mayhem. The Mayhem is battling it out with our Torpedoes. This was the one that the Colorado was firing at. I get 6 torpedo hits on him. And the Torpedoes actually torpedoes the Mayhem. And I think he will get the kill for that one. Mayhem tries to smoke up as a last resort, but shots are out, and at this point I think, either the... there's the Bismarck. So the Bismarck has gone back into position, but at this point they've lost the battleship on the left flank. I've severely damaged the Colorado on the right flank, so that our battleships in the rear should be able to take care of him without problems. So I can rush the Bismarck. I'm at full health. No more stealth at this point. I'm just going to rush the Bismarck at short range. Bismarcks have extremely dangerous guns, so yes, I'm losing half my health. But he's going to beach. So even though the indicator shows that I would miss, and I need to disengage because the Bismarck's going to shred me to bits, these torpedoes are going to sit, and the Bismarck's dead because he ran into the island. So there's one battleship left. I have no idea where he went. Oh, that's the Colorado up there. He's trying still to duke it out with our ships in the rear, but he has no more chance. We get the Confederate for firing at the Shokaku. My torpedoes are not quite reloaded yet, but the Minsk is coming in, and I think he did a really good job killing that other destroyer earlier in the Leberecht Mars earlier in the cap circle. I think he deserves that kill if he can get it. The Shokaku is maneuvering wildly, trying to dodge torpedoes. But Minsk has short-range torpedoes. He's just basically going to get into got close enough that the Shokaku can't dodge anymore. So I'm just firing my torpedoes just in case. But the Shokaku is dead. The Minsk is going to gun him down, and there we go. Well, again, this was kind of a mix of typical Japanese play in the beginning, where you're kind of trying to stay out of sight and stealth torp and trying to get as close as possible. And then afterwards, once the situation changes, you're just gonna have to adapt to it and stop playing that role that you were playing earlier and assume a different role and say, okay, we got to secure this cap, we got to make sure the battleships are staying outside, we're going to make sure our flanks are not collapsing, and we're not getting crossfired. And don't be afraid to, if you see a ship that you know you can one-shot, like the Bismarck in the end, you have the DPS with the Japanese destroyer to kill an injured battleship in a single shot. So you can actually rush them, get in close if you still have the health, tank some of their fire, and get them killed so you don't get sunk while you're disengaging. And that's how you can play. Right? You can play these. You can play them like this as well if the situation arises. But in general, this is how I like playing destroyers, and it's exciting. It's fun because you can do huge amounts of damage. You can be sneaky. You can have knife fights with other destroyers and these kind of things. It's a very varied kind of gameplay, and it doesn't get boring easily. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something. Obviously, this is not the only way to play. There are 100 different strategies. A lot of people might have different opinions about how to play. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat. This is just how I play these things. And if there's anything you want to see more of, any other ships you want me to review or to play or just to have battles in, let me know in the comments. And otherwise, I'll be seeing you next week. It means I'm gonna have to play the Graf Zeppelin, and I am still a bit apprehensive about this because I'm a very terrible CV player, but we'll make the best of it and at best get some laughs out of it. So I'll see you then. Bye.